Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to find the Cowboys defense. Sorry.
Woo! It's the boy, Bubba, let's coming through. Hella clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba, let's. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the GOAT, I'll tell you who's not great.
Bubba Bunch, welcome back to another edition of the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast. Episode 172. Cowboys versus Browns review. Where do we begin? Look, I can throw the stats. I can talk about performances. It is gotten to the point where you just give up. You give up on a cause that you truly believe in because you see the potential. And how many times have I said that on this podcast? How many reviews have we done in the last year and a half? Because we did all of last season. We're doing the first quarter of this season so far. And time after time after time, the games against the Packers, the games against the Saints, against the Giants, the Eagles, the Lions, and even the first 4 games of this season, have we gone through a Cowboys team that starts slow, gets down way too much very early, and has to crawl their way back into this football game to have a chance. But most of that time, it's going to be falling short for this Dallas Cowboys team. This game was no different. And I want to start doing more praise for the opposing team. And I think this is one of those instances because of how good the Cleveland Browns can be and the collective effort out of both sides, offense and defense. Their coaching staff actually looks like they're going to be there for a while. Kevin Stefanski has done a phenomenal job as his first year head coaching the Cleveland Browns. And I think this is a good indication of what we're seeing in Cleveland with a first-year head coach and a brand-new coaching staff that has talent on the roster. What can they do? It may not be perfect, but what can they do as a collective to give you that promise that it's going to turn around? Then we look on the other side of the spectrum with the Dallas Cowboys. First-year head coach, brand-new coaching staff, roster that is talented across the board, and we just want to see a change. I think we are in the process of seeing a change offensively, but I have no clue what is to come with that defense. All I'm seeing and all I'm predicting right now is the worst Dallas Cowboys defense of all time. It is put in the record books that we have not seen this bad of a defense statistically by a Cowboys team since their inaugural season in 1960. For all you math wizards out there, from 1960 to 2020, that is a large amount of time in between. So there have been plenty of Dallas Cowboys teams. There's been plenty of bad Dallas Cowboys teams. And we can even look back to a few years ago. Think of how bad the Morris Claiborne, Brandon Carr, Orlando Scandrick, J.J. Wilcox years were. Even last year or 2 years ago when Jeff Heath was supposedly the best defensive back that we had. Those were some bad years. But watching what occurred on Sunday against the Cleveland Browns at home, this is undoubtedly the worst Dallas Cowboys defense I have ever seen. And this is not an exaggeration. This is not Overreaction Monday. Look into my eyes if you are watching this on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. And if you're listening to this, feel my pain in my voice. And imagine these bug-eyed, this bug-eyed Bubba Lutz staring you into your soul and telling you, I'm going to get real close. This is the worst Cowboys defense I have ever seen. I'm I'm calling it spade to spades. I was wrong about Mike Nolan. I was very wrong about Mike Nolan. I loved Mike Nolan getting hired by the Cowboys to be their defensive coordinator. I praised him for years on what he did with the linebackers in New Orleans. I mean, this guy made everybody look good in that depth chart. And he made them one of the best groups in the NFL. To my surprise, none of that exists in Dallas. And my lack of precise research on Mike Nolan has really showed that maybe this isn't the move. Maybe this was the wrong move from the beginning. Because he hasn't been a defensive coordinator since 2014. And when he was a defensive coordinator, his defensive units were among the worst in the league. One year he was the worst. And nothing's changed apparently since his time as a defensive coordinator in 2014. Look, let's just start with the Cleveland Browns to start it off. I thought this was the biggest test for the Dallas Cowboys as far as their running game defense. Their rushing defense, in a lot of people's eyes, and Cowboys fans, and analysts, and just people that I've talked to on Twitter, they have recognized that, hey, they may give up 40 points, but at least they're stopping the run. And I'm kind of like, well, you're reaching for that one, but I can understand your point. They have been okay stopping the run. In week 1, it was a collective effort out of the Los Angeles Rams with Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, and Malcolm Brown. Malcolm Brown had his career high. It was like 76 yards. That's fine, but they did give up touchdowns, and it established a good play-action game for Jared Goff and the Rams. Week 2, then you get into the Atlanta Falcons, who had Todd Gurley, who has given the Cowboys issues in previous years, but somehow the Cowboys, contain him to a certain level to where he's not the most important factor. But it is a pass-heavy offense for the Atlanta Falcons, so you can't really say that is a win for the Dallas Cowboys, especially giving up 38 points in that game. Week 3 against Seattle, they did stop Chris Carson very well, but it wasn't about that. They are pass-heavy in Seattle right now with Russell Wilson. So once again, the argument is you can't really say that's a win when you're giving up that many points. And I thought Cleveland was going to be the toughest matchup yet. And with Saquon out next week against the Giants, you can say for a good amount of time, the the Dallas Cowboys don't have to face a running back heavy or run heavy offense, except for the Cleveland Browns, who have found their identity in the run game. Nick Chubb, to me, is the most complete back, a running back. And let me rephrase that. He is the prototype running back that you would like on a team that is a power guy, agile guy. You have the outliers in Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. And, of course, you have Ezekiel, Elliott, Saquon Barkley, and even Josh Jacobs in Las Vegas. But I feel that what Nick Chubb brings to this team is exactly what DeMarco Murray brought to the Cowboys in that early 2010s, mid-2010s era for the Dallas Cowboys. And it was, you are going to win if he gets past 100 yards. No doubt about it. If he can find holes, if he can break out for big runs, and if he gets over 75 to 100 yards, it's over. You lose the time of possession. Your defense is going to be too tired and too worried about the play action alongside the running game. And Baker Mayfield's going to feel more comfortable in the pocket because he has more time to throw. It's going to be a good day if Nick Chubb is having a good day. And the addition of Kareem Hunt last season, and now that he's been able to play after his suspension, it just adds another layer to a threatening backfield for the Cleveland Browns. And I thought Nick Chubb was going to be a problem for this Cowboys defense because they can't get to the quarterback, and they haven't faced a true back yet. they haven't faced a top 5, top 10 running back in the league. And now they have. And early on, before Nick Chubb was out of this game due to a knee injury, and he's going to be out for like 6 weeks now, he was finding holes. He was breaking out for big runs. And credit to the offensive line for the Cleveland Browns, who gave Nick Chubb at least a good amount of 7 yards before he even has to face a Cowboys defender. They pushed that defensive line for the Cowboys way farther than the line of scrimmage. So it was doomed from the beginning for this Cowboys defensive line. And Nick Chubb is going to really hurt you if you give him some time, give him some patience and some room to run. So from the beginning, it was a disaster for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, granted, Cowboys are up 14-7 after the first quarter, but the second quarter, boy, oh boy, was that fun to watch. I think it was overall 31 unanswered. No, what? Yeah, 31 unanswered by the Cleveland Browns before the Cowboys could even blink. And it was sad to watch. Then you have Ezekiel Elliott fumbling, and lately, I'm not saying this is a habit of him, but lately it has become a habit. And I don't know how that 2-game stretch at the beginning of the season turned into this. Based on those first 2 games, you could say that Ezekiel Elliott's going to have the best season of his career. And especially with how that offense is going, you think that he's going to have the breakout year like he did in his rookie season 2016, and he's going to blow away the competition. That's not the case after the first 2 games. Seattle and the Cleveland game, they don't look good, and he's barely getting over 50 yards. It's not a good sight to see. Let's get back to the Cleveland Browns, though. So Nick Chubb, before he goes out with the injury, looks phenomenal, and that offensive line that has improved tremendously in this last few years, especially this season. I thought Jedrick Wills was the best offensive lineman in the draft, and I will continue to say that because of his play so far with the Cleveland Browns. He looks great for a rookie. He doesn't look like a rookie, but the inside protection for Baker Mayfield has been the biggest improvement so far. I was always worried about Baker's blind sides and his tackles because that's where a lot of the problems were after Joe Thomas retired. But it felt like after Jedrick Wills and now with an improved offensive line, it feels like the interior is the problem. But they did a great job of protecting Baker Mayfield. They did give up 2 sacks, but one of them, it was Baker Mayfield stopped behind the line of scrimmage for only a yard. It wasn't a huge loss, and you could tell that Baker had time to throw, and that offensive line was taking care of business against a horrid defensive line for the Cowboys. And then you get everyone involved. Now, I know Jarvis Landry didn't have the best day, but he was targeted 6 times, 5 receptions for 48 yards. It was the Odell Beckham Jr. show. And, of course, Odell has a career year or a career day with the Dallas Cowboys secondary. You saw it with that catch on Sunday night against, like, Brandon Carr. And then you have the performance that he put up in this game. Not only did he have 5 receptions, targeted 8 times for 81 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he also had that just ridiculous run on the end around that was on that final drive for the Browns that led to that OBJ huge run, 50 yards, and led to a touchdown as well. Odell ends with 2 carries, 73 yards, 1 touchdown. He had a huge day. And it is all because they just looked at the weaknesses of this Cowboys team. Offensively, they said their secondary can't hold us. They can't hold OBJ. They can't hold Jarvis Landry. And their tight ends as well had a pretty good day. Once we put them against a true back like Nick Chubb, they're not going to be able to contain that. So if we establish a run very quickly, which we will, and that offensive line wins the battles, it sets up everything else for this team. And Baker Mayfield doesn't have to make the tough throws. He doesn't make the hard decisions. This is a simplistic offense that they put into effect on Sunday, and it's what the Browns needed. And with that simple game plan of run with Nick Chubb, win the offensive battle on the line, and then it's just a little misdirection here and there. Give them something. Give them a look to where they need to make a rash decision very quickly. And you know that this Cowboys team will not be able to do that. And that gets them 49 points. Defensively, turnover battle. You know that the Cowboys do not get turnovers. They just do not know how to get turnovers on this defense. And give me a second. I'll get to the defense. But 3 turnovers for this Browns defense. They should have had more, honestly, because of the way that they had to tighten up those windows for Dak Prescott. There were 2 or 3 more passes that could have ended in an interception. So it could have been a really bad day for the interception column for Dak Prescott. But, they don't end up getting the catch, and the Cowboys luck out. But I felt like this Browns defense, who is very underrated and is yet to show their purest form of attacking, of physicality and turnovers. They're missing Grant Delpit. But the ability to get Andrew Sendejo from Minnesota and to add him to a veteran position. And then you also have Denzel Ward. You have Myles Garrett up front. Ogunjobi. These guys are dangerous. And as a complete group, they are doing tremendous things in Cleveland defensively. And I thought prior to this game, I know we didn't do a preview for it, but I felt like this is going to be a hard game for the Cowboys because defensively, the Browns are a very underrated defense, and their offense with Nick Chubb could give this defensive line a lot of problems, who isn't able to tackle, who isn't able to get to the quarterback. And that's exactly what happened. They took advantage of those small little things that the Cowboys do wrong, especially defensively. If you add any misdirection, which they did with the end arounds and the fakes, they let Jarvis Landry on that end around throw to Odell for that first touchdown. It's putting guys like Darian Thompson, Xavier Woods, or it's putting guys up on the line like Everson Griffin and Aldon Smith, even Jalen Smith, who had probably the worst game I've seen him have since his rookie season, technically rookie season when he was able to play. They put him in situations where they have to make that quick decision, and before you can even realize it, it's already too late because of how fast and how agile these threats that the Cleveland Browns have can be. And they just exposed this Cowboys defense for the terrible, terrible unit that they are. And credit to the Cleveland Browns for putting up 49 after having that battle against the Bengals on Thursday night, who they did look good, but you can tell that, hey, they still need some stuff to work. And I'm not saying the Browns are perfect, but they're 3-1. They're feeling good. I'm starting to see that swagger that Baker Mayfield brings to the table, that Odell brings to the table. I was ready to give up on Odell after week 1, and especially the offseason that he had, it was not looking good. But he's feeling confident again. It's looking like New York Giants Odell before all the drama. This unit and this team is just so confident, and they believe in Kevin Stefanski like they didn't believe in Freddie Kitchens. They never believed in their coaches until now. Now they're seeing a wizard offensively in Stefanski, and they have a good coaching staff defensively, to where they believe in it. And when you have guys like Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward that are making plays, I know you gave up 38 points, but does it really matter when you're up 41-14 for most of this game to where you just have to contain them? And you can't discredit the Cowboys offense because that's the biggest strength to this team so far. Giving up 38 points, I get it. Toward the end, you're up 41-14. You get comfortable. You get just really complacent. So I'm not going to judge or complain about the Browns putting up or giving up 38 points. But 49 points on a basic offensive scheme is impressive for a team that lost their number one back, still had to do it with Kareem Hunt, and also bring in a guy that no one's ever heard of. I got to check the name again because I don't even... D'Ernest Johnson even put up numbers. He had 95 yards. D'Ernest Johnson. I want somebody in the comments. I want somebody to hit me up on Twitter to tell me where D'Ernest Johnson came from. Because I don't know. But they made it work. Because this defense is so fucking terrible. Okay. Positives. Their offense, Dak Prescott puts up 500 yards, 4 touchdowns, has to throw the ball 58 times. I don't want to see Dak throw for 500 yards. I don't want to see Dak throw 58 times because they don't need to do that. But the reason why they do that is because they're down 41-14 in the third quarter. The Browns had 30 first downs before the fourth quarter even started, and they were up 41-14 before the final 15 minutes started. I don't know about you, but that doesn't seem like a good defense to me. Yet, Dak single-handedly brings them back into this football game to give them at least a chance and gives this team a spark on the sideline. And he did all he could. So, Dak gets another week to where he's like, I've earned my contract. Everybody else is shitting the bed. You gave Jalen money. You gave Lyle money. You gave all this defensive line money, yet I'm the one performing. You gave Zeke that huge extension. He's fumbling. He's not even getting over 60 yards in the last 2 games. Yet I'm putting up 500 yards and you don't think I'm the franchise quarterback? That's just... And that's the root of the issue, which I'll get to at the end. But for now, let's just focus on it. Amari Cooper has a day. 134 yards, 1 touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, 2 touchdowns, 79 yards, 7 targets, 5 receptions. I love CeeDee Lamb. Oh, I love him so much. Dalton Schultz had another great day as well. 4 receptions, 72 yards, 1 touchdown. They incorporated Blake Bell, Michael Gallup, Cedric Wilson, Noah Brown even, who was targeted 4 times. Tony Pollard. He found so many receivers and weapons that 38 points gets you a win in most times in the NFL. 38 points is a winning score for a lot of these teams in the NFL. You're seeing Green Bay winning games by scoring 38, 41, 45. So what makes the Cowboys any different? Well, then you look at the defense and you look at special teams. Special teams, Tony Pollard totally misreads a kickoff return again. Then defensively, here's the fundamental issue, guys. There is no fundamentals on this defense. And there are so many problems that are unable to be fixed within a week that I don't think this is going to be changed or improved in any way this season. Look at last season. Even look at the last 3 years of the Dallas Cowboys. What has hurt them in the end? Defense against the Rams in that divisional round. They couldn't stop the run. They gave up over 200 yards rushing. Sounds familiar, right? In this game, they gave up 300. Horrible. They gave up 200 against the Rams, set up the play action for Jared Goff. He didn't really have to do much, but in the end, he does enough, and this defense cannot stop anybody. They can't get off the field. And then, in last season, they gave up so many points so early that it's so hard for this offense to come back, and they can't get off the field because they give up too many first downs. They can't get off the field on third down, even if it's third and long. And fundamentally, they can't tackle. Fundamentally, they can't decide on doing man coverage, on zone coverage, and their safeties don't know how to play the safety position because they are giving up the big plays over the top. And hell, even if you do stop the big plays, you can't stop the run. Wasn't that the whole reason why Dontari Poe was brought in? Wasn't that the whole reason why Tristan Hill was improved to be a starter? Because he was able to stop the run in training camp? Wasn't that the reason why you wanted to get Everson Griffin? And you also wanted to blitz more with Mike Nolan? Is to stop the run? Now you've given up 300 yards in one game against the one team that you face this season that actually runs the ball very well. Other than that, if you're not playing against a team that runs the ball very, very well, then you're giving up over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns to Russell Wilson. You're giving up touchdowns upon touchdowns to just post routes by Darian Thompson and Xavier Woods. And then you look at some of the plays to where there's misdirection, where they have to make that quick decision. They do not know how to do that. You only get to the quarterback twice, and one of them was not even a sack. You didn't even sack him. He just went down before the line of scrimmage. You're not putting any pressure. You're not blitzing. You're not running. And when you do run a safety blitz or a corner blitz, and I'll show that in film later on this week, and I think it was, I want to say it's Darryl Worley that was sent on the blitz, but he has a wide open lane to Baker Mayfield. No one's going to touch him. No one even recognizes that he's heading that way. And he stops. He hesitates because he wants to get the tip pass, when really it's more effective to just go at him, to go at him and to make that play in order to make him feel uncomfortable. There was no reason to hesitate. And in that last play, I've seen it so many times on Twitter, and I've seen it so many times on somebody reviewing it, but the end around touchdown by OBJ late in the fourth quarter, to where Alden Smith picks it up very well and he's right there for the tackle and he misses, that's not my problem. Alden Smith should make that tackle. But you should think that by then, when OBJ has to add some element and add some time to get past Alden Smith, that someone is there to be backup and at least limit that to 1 or 2 yard gain at the most. Both linebackers, Jalen Smith and Joe Thomas, do not bite on the fake. They don't bite on the initial fake to the left. They continue to look and they recognize OBJ has the ball on the other side of the field. So I need to get there. Joe Thomas gets there in time. Yet he doesn't go for the ball. He goes for the block. And then Jalen Smith, who is still in midfield because he doesn't seem to run at full speed, is too late to get there and is having to outrun OBJ just to get to him, and it's too late. Jalen Smith is the fastest guy on this defense. What was that?
There's a reminder.
What the hell? Anyways, he's too late to get there, even though he's the fastest linebacker and one of the fastest guys on this team. He looked injured. Like, he didn't look like he wanted to run at full speed, like he couldn't. Yet, if he did get there with effort, then it would have been limited to at least a 5 or 6 yard gain, not a touchdown to cost your team the game. To at least give your offense another shot. Oh God, the worst part of it is that at the end of the game, press conference the day after, Mike McCarthy says, effort on this defense is not the issue. It's confidence. It's everything, Mike. And I can make an argument, or someone can make an argument, that it's the scheme, that it's a new system, that it's a whole new Mike Nolan defense. But what I'm seeing on the field is the inability to tackle, the inability to make a confident decision or make an awareness decision enough or fast enough to get to the ball quickly enough. The league is heading toward misdirection. It's already here. Look at the Chiefs, look at the 49ers. They are based off of misdirection and making you think on defense. You can throw anything at them. You can do any design. You can do any disguise. You can blitz them anytime you want with different looks. And you can show them different things, but do another, which the Cowboys don't do at all. And it doesn't matter because they're playing that chess game as well. And you got to decide if they're going to do an end around, a flea flicker, they're going to do a screen, they're just going to do a simple run. It doesn't matter because they're always one step ahead of you. And it takes a phenomenal defense to pick that up, which the Cowboys are not. So if you are struggling to do it against teams like Cleveland, against teams like the Falcons, teams like the Rams, who I don't think do it the best, but they do it efficiently, you're giving up 49 points. You're giving up 49 points. And you've done it. You've given up over 35 points in each of the last 3 weeks. You gave up 38 against the Falcons. You gave up, 39 against the Seahawks. And now you give up 49? How is this getting any better? And then for Mike Nolan to say, I am completely for Jalen Smith. I don't see where everybody is doubting him. I don't see where everybody is I don't get where everybody is coming with this criticism. I see the film, and I see the worst performance I've seen in a very long time by Jalen Smith. You want to talk about liability? Joe Thomas is capable to be in the starting lineup, even though I don't think he's the greatest linebacker in the world. He has done a good job of replacing Leighton Vander Esch and taking over that role. Jalen Smith came out and said, once Leighton Vander Esch went down, and right before the Falcons game, that he felt so comfortable being the play caller for this defense. 38 points, 39 points, and 49 points have been given up ever since he said that. He doesn't look like the leader that he was 2 years ago. He doesn't look like the linebacker he was 2 years ago. He looks so lost, and this all started last season, especially in that Chicago Bears game. He looked lost. He looked ridiculously slow, and it's just continuing this season, and it's horrible to watch. The man can't make basic decisions. And I'm not going to forget about that defensive line that can't get to the quarterback. They're playing terrible too. Everson Griffin's not worth the money. Dontari Poe's non-existent. DeMarcus Lawrence, hell, he'll make some plays here and there, but is it really worth that contract that he was paid? And then Aldon Smith looks like the best guy out of all of them, but he didn't have the best week either. And that secondary, God help that safety position, because who knows what needs help. I don't even think Earl Thomas can save that, or Eric Reed, whoever you bring in. It's not just a thing that you just bring in a guy and this will turn from 49 points to 19 points. That ain't going to happen. This is a fundamental issue of not being able to tackle, being too tired because you can't get off the field. And Mike, I'm so disappointed in Jim Tomsula too. Like, Jim Tomsula is one of the best defensive lineman coaches in the NFL. They had 2 sacks. He made that Washington defensive line last season, even though they were horrible all season all around, made them look like Pro Bowlers across the board. And if he would have stayed with Washington, I don't know what could have happened with Jim Tomsula taking over. But I tweeted this out. Like, you have Pro Bowlers. You have multiple-time Pro Bowlers. You have multiple-time All-Pro players. And you have guys that have put up, like, what? I think a total of, like, almost 70 sacks in their careers. Like, that is insane to think of. And yet you got to the quarterback twice, and one of them wasn't even a sack. Mike McCarthy is saying that it's not an effort thing, which it is. And the whole reason why Jason Garrett was let go is because he's not noticing these problems and not adapting to these problems or recognizing them sooner rather than later. Accountability has been overlooked completely this season for the Dallas Cowboys. There's got to be accountability on all sides. Dak Prescott isn't perfect. He has made some bad throws, and he should have had a lot more interceptions in this game. He should be accountable for that. Ezekiel Elliott fumbling the ball and just looking just distant when he does, like, he gets himself down after that fumble, and it just doesn't look the same after that. Like, that's accountability. You got to take accountability if you're Tony Pollard or John Fossil and the special teams coordinator for the bad, really bad special teams unit that can't do a kickoff return or a punt return correctly without getting an illegal block in the back or fumbling the ball at the 1-yard line and giving Dak the worst field position of all time. And then defense, who has been the issue ever since the beginning of last season. Giving up too many points, giving up too many easy first downs, too many easy points, and not holding themselves accountable. Yet we're just going to ignore that because we're just going through the motions. We're just reaching the first quarter of the NFL season. I'm seeing Cleveland Browns have Kevin Stefanski and a whole new coaching staff with a talented roster in the same position that you are as far as what they need to get done in a bad preseason training camp that doesn't allow you to get your players ready in time, but they have the same amount of time that you do to prepare. And they have the same amount of time to execute those preparations. And they're 3-1, scoring 49 points a game. You're 1-3, giving up 49 points a game with a defense that should have been tremendously better. I understand that the defensive backs and the secondary was going to be the weakness of this team. I did not know it was going to be this bad because you gave us all the confidence in the world to say, well, I mean, we're a growing and young group, but we do have Al Harris and Lindquist taking over. These are experienced guys, and we do have talent. You didn't want to pay Byron Jones, but you felt like you were confident in getting Trevon Diggs, who has been the best cornerback so far. You got Darryl Worley because analytically he was a great move. Anthony Brown and Chidobe Awuzie are hurt. I get that, but even when they were playing, they were still not being efficient. And then with your safeties, you got rid of HaHa Clinton-Dix in training camp because you felt so confident in Xavier Woods and Darian Thompson that you didn't feel like you needed HaHa. How bad was HaHa in training camp for me to think Xavier Woods and Darian Thompson are the better safeties? I don't understand it at all. And even through the first 4 weeks to where you've seen the worst secondary that I've ever seen for the Cowboys and one of the most disappointing defensive lines I've ever seen for the Cowboys, and to say, we don't need a change, we don't need to do anything. We're just going to go with the journey. We're going to stick with our path. That's the issue. That's the accountability of the coaching staff and the front office for not recognizing that. How many times have I bashed Bill O'Brien and the Houston Texans for not recognizing the issues on their team? Not recognizing that their secondary is not going to get them anywhere. That their defensive struggles are going to cost them games and not get them far in the playoffs. For their trades, for their moves, getting Bill O'Brien the GM job and making him still the head coach, not recognizing the issues. And guess where they are right now? 0-4. They just fired Bill O'Brien, but they have gone year after year with Deshaun Watson as their quarterback and J.J. Watt, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate every single year, go into the playoffs on a wild card and lose. Lose consistently in the playoffs. They're 0-4. They just fired the GM/coach. And now they're kind of just, their season's lost. But year after year, they're disappointing. Well, what's different in Dallas? Not recognizing that your head coach for 10 years was the problem, Jason Garrett. Didn't recognize that for 10 years. Not recognizing that your defense was going to cost Tony Romo's career because you could not stop anybody and Tony Romo had to throw for 400 yards every game. Not recognizing that your offense was one of the most entertaining things in the NFL, but your defense could not get off the field. You didn't do anything about that. You only got rid of DeMarcus Ware. You added DeMarcus Lawrence. You paid him, but your secondary was terrible. You thought that Morris Claiborne was going to save it all, and after, 4 or 5 years, you're like, well, maybe he's not the guy. So then, after all of that, then you went years thinking that Jeff Heath was the best safety that you can get after so many free agents and so many guys in the draft could have been a lot better. You didn't make the move for Jamal Adams. You didn't make the move for Minka Fitzpatrick. You didn't make the move for Kenny Vaccaro. You didn't make the move for Earl Thomas. You didn't make the move for Eric Reed. And yet you're still in this position. Then you're not paying Dak. You're paying the guys that have been the worst on this team. Jalen Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence, Everson Griffin, Dontari Poe. You're paying all these different guys. And yet you're in this position after week 4, 1-3, and saying, we're fine. What was the problem last year when you were below 500, a 500 team, and you had a great offense that was number 1 in the NFL in everything? Dak Prescott's balling out. The running game's really there. And your defense was one of the worst in the NFL. No, we're fine. No, we'll win the division, and then we'll go from there. You didn't win the division, and you took so long to realize that Jason Garrett, it may be time to move on. Right now, what the issue is that the Cowboys are still doing the same type of game plan that they were doing 10 years ago. Build that offensive line, run the ball, score points, and let the defense not be on the field as much because they are going to give up points. It worked for many years with Tony Romo, and even in the first few years with Dak Prescott, because your offensive line consisted of Tyron Smith, Connor Williams, Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, Lyle Collins, Doug Free, if you want to count him, but I really didn't. These are Pro Bowl guys. This can be considered as a offensive line top 5, top 3 in the NFL. And they played like it because everyone was healthy. Everyone was a Pro Bowler. And nobody could stop that offensive line. So it just set up Ezekiel Elliott, DeMarco Murray. It even set up Darren McFadden for many games for them to succeed at a high level. And Tony Romo had protection. Dak Prescott had time to throw. It works out in the end. You take care of time of possession. You don't let the other team have the ball more than 25 minutes. You don't let them score 49 points because they're just not capable of doing it. Then, when the injuries piled up, Travis Frederick retires, Zach Martin's banged up, Tyron Smith banged up, and Lyle Collins is having those injuries. Connor Williams is the worst offensive lineman that the Cowboys have right now, other than Terrence Steele. And you still run that same game plan, so it doesn't set up the run very well. Dak Prescott has to throw more than he has to, and it allows the defense to be on the field more often than not, so the time of possession goes in favor of the opposing team. Then you start losing games, and you start to think, well, maybe that's the issue. Maybe our game plan's outdated. Cleveland had the ball 33 minutes and 27 seconds. The Cowboys had 26 minutes and 33 seconds. And yet you're still running the same game plan that you ran in 2012, 2013, because you think that an offensive line is capable of being on the field that long. Dak Prescott has come out and said that this team wants to be fast. They want to run an up-tempo offense. That means that you're going to have less time of possession and you're going to score more points because you're going to be having lower time drives, that you're not going to be on the field as much because you're scoring that many points that quickly. So that means that if you want to run that, you have to. And this is not just a maybe you should try this, maybe this is a good consideration, a good thought process. This is a definite thing that needs to happen. If you want to run a fast tempo offense like the Rams do, like the Chiefs do, you have to make your defensive unit better. You have to make them a dominant force. You have to get off the field as fast as possible. Or you have to have a scheme that makes that work. But when you have an offensive line that can't stay on the field for more time because that's just how their offense is running it, and now your defense is on the field more often than not, yet you're still running the same game plan, that's a coaching staff issue and that's a front office issue. So let's get back to the main issue here at hand. Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones don't know how to run an organization. They know how to make money. They know how to make money. But if you don't know the underlying issues on this team, which is top priority, a secondary, top priority, a better defense, then you don't know how to run a football team. And until you recognize that, then you're not going to go anywhere. Until you recognize that Jason Garrett's the issue, no one can get anywhere. Well, that took him 10 years. You don't understand that your defense has been one of the worst units in the NFL for close to a decade now, and you don't do anything about it other than overpay guys that just they have one good season to that contract year, and then you extend them, DeMarcus Lawrence, Jalen Smith, even in those years with like Morris Claiborne, J.J. Wilcox, Chef Heath. You're extending these guys that are not proven guys. And now you're left with no money. Now you're left with a bad defense, and you're 1-3. And now your head coach that was brought in to take accountability, bring in discipline and effort into this football team is lacking effort, lacking discipline, and is not recognizing the issues that are at hand on their defense, because he totally believes in Mike Nolan. He totally believes in Jalen Smith. He totally believes in that defensive line. The worst defense I have ever seen through week 4 It is 4 games into the season, and this is the worst Cowboys defense I've ever seen. Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones don't know how to do their job. Mike McCarthy is not doing his job. Mike Nolan is not doing his job. Accountability is not a part of this Cowboys team. They are playing the Giants this week. Who the fuck cares? Because 2 things are going to happen. One, they're going to still look bad. Because the Giants always give them issues. It's a divisional game. And their defense is that bad to where they can make Daniel Jones look good. They won't create turnovers. They will score a lot of points. But I think Daniel Jones can score a lot of points as well. Number 2, if they win, who cares? They beat the Giants. I don't care if you beat the Giants 16 times in a season. You beat the Giants. You need to win games against playoff contenders and against good teams to know exactly where you go from there. And I'm sick and tired of being negative about this team because I truly want to believe in this team. Look, I'm not asking for a Super Bowl contender in week 4. I'm not asking for that. And I have given this offense so much credit. I think this offense is electric. It can be the best unit in the NFL. Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback. Ezekiel Elliott's one of the best running backs in the league. And their wide receivers, and even the impressive performances by Dalton Schultz and Blake Bell, have made me so confident in this offense to where points aren't going to be an issue. That's not the issue at hand. It is their defense. And if their defense is not going to improve at all, if their defense isn't going to change at all, then there's no hope for this team. What I want is to go week by week and say, there's an incline. There is a performance week after week that keeps improving. If you give up 49 points this week, and you give up 25, 21 against a good team the next week, I will say, oh, on film, you look better, and it proves it in the score. If you went from the Falcons game to the Seahawks game and said, oh, well, from Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, where you give up a lot of yards and a lot of points, to Seattle Seahawks, where you only gave up 24, 25 points, even 30 points, I would take that. And you didn't give the Seahawks the easiest touchdowns in the world, and you should have got beaten by worse, because they should have scored over 40 with that DK Metcalf touchdown. That was a touchback. Great play by Trevon Diggs. If you don't give up those big plays and let Russell Wilson have a field day with you and not get to the quarterback, if you would have shown me some improvement, I would have been like, okay. Well, you lose to the Seahawks, who are a great contender in the NFC right now, but show me a promise. Show me a little something. Show me that you care. Yet, after that Falcons game, you got worse to the Seahawks game. And then from the Seahawks game to this game, you only got worse. And now you have DeMarcus Lawrence calling your defense soft when at the beginning of the season you called them hot boys. That's not in the right direction. And until I see that week-by-week improvement and not see week-by-week digression, then I'm only going to come on these podcasts. I'm only going to come on these reviews and bash on this Cowboys team. Because that is what they deserve. Don't tell me, like, the one thing that really pissed me off, and I'll end it on this, that Mike McCarthy said in his press conference earlier today, was that if effort was an issue, then they would have given up midway through the third quarter. Ladies and gentlemen, it was 41-14 in the middle of the third quarter. And Dak Prescott brought them back into that game to at least give them a chance. Did the Cowboys defense improve at all? Well, in the end, Mike, they had one opportunity. And if they would have given up 42 points and stopped them on that third down or on that play with Odell Beckham Jr. doing the end around, if they would have stopped them and given this Cowboys offense a chance, I would have said, okay, it was bad, but when they needed it the most, they at least showed effort and showed that they can make a stop. What do they do to answer that call? They give up a 50-yard run on a misdirection play for the touchdown that sealed the game for the Browns. When the Cowboys had plenty of time to get that ball back and get down to the field and win this football game. You telling me that effort isn't the issue? If they would have, at that point, you're giving up 41 points in the third quarter, and you're telling me that their effort wasn't good? Or that it was good in the three quarters? 41 points. I could put in more effort as a safety and not giving up 41 points. Effort is such a loose term to use if you're Mike McCarthy. And yes, confidence is an issue. Oh, I know it's an issue. But effort, seeing Jalen Smith not even look half as good as he did last season. I mean, he is looking worse every game. You can't, and the way that they look on the sidelines, like their body language is horrible. This is a badly coached team. This is a badly run organization with a franchise quarterback that deserves better, with a wide receiver unit that deserves better. They deserve wins because of the effort they've put up. Effort is a collective thing. So if you're telling me it's the effort of the offense that you don't have to worry about, of course, I agree. Because that offense looks great, other than not scoring any points in the second and third quarter. So, yeah, the effort is a collective effort. They should have scored at least a few points. I don't know why they're not scoring points in back-to-back quarters. But when you've given up 41 points before the end of the third quarter, there's an effort problem. To not at least have the self-awareness and the prideness. Like, you're not prideful enough to make a stop so you don't look embarrassing. And you only get worse as the days go on, as the games go on. You had one opportunity to make up for the horrible performance that you put up on Sunday with that one play. And you gave up a 50-yard run to OBJ to end the game, and he waves to the crowd, being all cocky as ever. That is on you. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be embarrassed. That's how I'm going to end this episode. So thank you for joining us on this Cowboys versus Browns review. Winners and losers tomorrow. Film session on Wednesday. I keep saying that, and I've said that back-to-back weeks, but just been ridiculous. I promise you there will be a film session where we're going to talk about these plays. And then we'll come back later in the week to talk about the preview for the Giants game. What did he fucking do? So this will do it for episode 172 of the Bubble Up Sports Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure to follow. Make sure to subscribe. We're on 85 subscribers. Let's get to 100 before the end of the year, guys. Please, please share this with anybody that loves sports and loves the Cowboys, even in this hard times. But let's get to 100 subscribers. Just follow the podcast on all platforms and be a member. Support the podcast with $1, $5, or $10 a month, and then make sure to donate to Irving's cancer treatment. I gotta update that because I don't know how far along he is on the donations, but please do. He's still battling cancer, and he's doing really well from what I see on Instagram. And I wish him nothing but the best. I pray for him, but please donate anything that you can. That it'll help out tremendously. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time on the Bubble Up Sports Podcast.
Yeah, hold on. Tell me who's your top 5 quarterbacks right now, dead or alive, huh? And how much do you care about a ring if the best player got carried by the team? Now would you lose if it been a better draft pick? And do you cuss when your team